What
today.
other genre of game would you like to create after Satisfactory? Oh, that's hard. Like,
Mm,
I don't think there's a specific genre of game that I would want to make. Like, I just want to make a good game, you know?
yeah,
Um, and it's okay if like the genre is different,
I
but
think
like,
I think this is a really interesting question because I can answer this question in many different ways because there's both like games that I would want to play. Like those aren't necessarily the games that you want to develop because sometimes, for instance,
yeah,
Rocket League is a good example. That's the one I always use. Rocket League is like one of my favorite games, but I would never want to work on that game because, you know, at least in the form that it's right now, because they're mostly doing maintenance work on that game. And the problems they're trying to solve with that game right now are really, really difficult. Um, so like jumping on board on that game would be really difficult. And there's a bunch of games that I can think of that are like that, where you have to solve like really difficult problems, which could be interesting, but also sounds like a lot of like grind, if you know what I mean. Um, but and then there's also the type of game where like also makes sense for Coffee Stain to make. You know, there could be my personal preference as like what I would like to work on, but you know, also one important factor when you're making game is that it has to like the people that are working on it has to fit with like what we're good at making.
yeah, yeah,
So you know, like if I couldn't make an RPG. I would like to make an RPG, but I think that's an interesting like problem. But you know, I don't have
yeah.
any. I don't think I had the
But
right
like,
mindset to make the balancing in that work and the
yeah,
math.
and 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 like if we just take for example, if we take the team at Coffee Stain for example now, like let's just say hypothetically here, let's say we weren't good at like we're not really a team that would be good at making RPG. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. I'm not sure,
Mm.
but let's just like hypothetically say that we're not. Even if I would like to make an RPG game, which I would like to make, I wouldn't then want to make it with Coffee Stain. Like why? Like because it was just gonna be it's just gonna be a nightmare for us.
Mm.
It's gonna be a bunch of people who don't excel in this area. If there's no passion in it either, then it's like we're all doing something that we don't really believe in or that we wouldn't do a really good job on. Like I wouldn't want to do that. Like I would want to work with the rest of the team on something that we're good at,
Yeah.
that we believe in and that we feel good about working on. So like so it doesn't really matter about the genre because like there might be a genre that I like, but if it doesn't jive with everyone, then we're not going to do a good job.
Mm.
And
'Cause
I
that's
don't really want to be a part of that team in that
yeah.
case.
Because that's a huge aspect. I think a lot of people think that like because you always hear those stories where like with bigger studios where they have like one creative director that's sort of deciding a lot of things, and that's one approach to do it. But I think a lot of smaller, and this is more common in the game dev industry, is that games sort of come from a lot of people coming together with that creative kind of mindset. So it's really hard to say that like one person had one idea that was this game that we developed. It's usually a bunch of different people coming together to develop something, and then you obviously have like a game director or something that guides that like game. But it always kind of boils down to like what makes sense for people that are working in the game to be making for that game. So like if you have a lot of 2D artists, for instance, it doesn't make sense to just like make a 3D game all of a sudden, maybe. Um,
But
so
like personally, like I have like some motivation and inspiration to make a game, but like I want to make a game with like a story, and I'd want to make it a small game. But like in that case, this motivation and inspiration is not really something that I would want to do with Coffee Stain necessarily, because again, that depends on everyone else. But like I would like to do something small on my own on the side one day. And if I did do that, I would want to do some kind of like narrative kind of storytelling game. Um, but yeah, it's not like one person. That doesn't work that way necessarily when you think of the whole team.
yes,
If everyone wanted to do that, then cool, let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But
yeah. It has a jive with a lot of people. And I think
yeah,
at least I think every game I worked on, there's never been one person sort of pushing for an agenda. It's always been, or not agenda, but like one idea guy. There's always been
yeah,
like somebody brings something up and then sort of tests the water with that idea, and then maybe someone, and then like see where it goes, essentially. I think that's one of the cool parts working together with other people is the whole like, you have an idea of what something will be, and then you sort of share it with others, and then they bring something to the table that you didn't anticipate or think about, and then we're all working to get towards like one, you know, unified goal.
One goal that you couldn't have got to alone.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.